The stars shone like pinpricks in the fabric of the universe, scattered across the infinite void that seemed to stretch on forever. For Captain Andrew Beckett, the view was breathtaking, an awe-inspiring reminder of the mission that awaited him. The USS Daedalus, a state-of-the-art spacecraft, stood tall against the backdrop of the launch pad, its metallic surface glimmering under the floodlights. The ship had been the culmination of years of research and development, a feat of engineering that promised to unveil the mysteries of the cosmos. The mission was unprecedented, a 3-month expedition to explore the nebula, a colossal cloud of gas and dust located light-years away from Earth. It was thought to hold the key to understanding the universe's origins, and every member of the crew had a role to play. There was Dr. Mia Chen, the astrophysicist with a passion for black holes. Lieutenant Daniel Reyes, the ship's navigator with a talent for solving complex mathematical problems in real time. And Dr. Laura Taylor, the biologist, eager to discover extraterrestrial life, who brought a spark of curiosity to every discussion. Together they represented the best of humanity's intellect and spirit, destined to chart a course into the unknown. As Beckett prepared for launch, a mixture of excitement and apprehension coursed through him. The mission was touted as a giant leap for mankind, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. He brushed aside the thought, focusing instead on the hum of the engines and the countdown echoing through the launch control room. 10, 9, 8. The atmosphere was electric, filled with the buzzing anticipation of the crew, engineers, and scientists. Their faces lit by the soft glow of screens, each person was aware that history was being made at that very moment. Beckett's heart raced as he stood in the cockpit, glancing at the faces of his crew through the reinforced glass. He smiled, reassured by their confidence, but the flicker of doubt in the back of his mind gnawed at him. "Captain, all systems check out green," came Reyes' voice over the comms, breaking Beckett from his reverie. "Thank you, Daniel. Prepare for launch sequence," Beckett replied, his voice steady. The countdown continued, each second slipping away, and Beckett felt a swell of pride. He was leading a team of exceptional individuals, all dedicated to uncovering the mysteries of the universe. He took a deep breath, reassuring himself that they were ready for whatever awaited them. As the engines ignited, the ship shook with the raw power of thrust, and Beckett felt the sensation of weightlessness pull at him. The Daedalus lifted off the ground, breaking through the atmosphere and leaving the comforting blue of Earth behind. The last glimpse of home faded as they soared into the cosmos, the vast expanse opening before them. Days turned into weeks as they traversed the emptiness between stars. The crew settled into a routine, conducting experiments, calibrating equipment, and monitoring the ship's systems. Each member of the crew found their rhythm, their camaraderie deepening with each shared meal and late-night discussion about their hopes for the mission. Yet, every night, Beckett lay awake, haunted by dreams of their mission. He saw flashes of fire and heard the screams of his crew, figments of a mind wrestling with anxiety. He dismissed them as mere stress-induced nightmares, telling himself it was just part of being in space. The crew spent evenings on the observation deck, gazing out at the cosmic wonders surrounding them. The stars sparkled like diamonds, and the beauty of the universe filled them with awe. Mia often shared her theories about the formation of black holes, her enthusiasm infectious. Laura would counter with her studies of extremophiles, microorganisms that could survive in the harshest environments, fostering discussions about the possibilities of life beyond Earth. It was on the 13th day that they reached the edge of the nebula. The spectacle was beyond description. Swirling colors of purple, blue, and gold illuminated the darkness, casting a surreal glow throughout the cockpit. The nebula seemed alive, pulsing with energy, as if beckoning them closer. It was a moment of pure wonder, a reminder of why they were there. "Prepare for initial scans," Beckett ordered, excitement tingling in his fingertips. "Mia, initiate the spectrometer," Reyes instructed, his fingers dancing across the console. Dr. Chen's eyes sparkled as she inputted the data. "I can't believe we're finally here," she murmured, almost to herself. "Just wait until you see the readings," Laura chimed in, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. They spent hours analysing the data, collecting information about the nebula's composition. Beckett felt a rush of adrenaline. This was what they had trained for. Yet, amid the excitement, a nagging feeling crept back in, a sense that they were intruding on something beyond their understanding. The day before, they were to conduct their first close-range observations. Beckett gathered the crew in the conference room. The mood was tense, excitement mixed with a palpable sense of foreboding. The holographic display projected images of the nebula, swirling with colours that seemed almost too vibrant to be real. "Listen, team," Beckett began, his voice steady. "We need to be cautious. This nebula is unlike anything we've encountered. The data we're seeing is unprecedented, but it's essential that we proceed with care. I don't want to take unnecessary risks." Dr. Chen frowned, her brow furrowed in thought. "I understand, Captain, but this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We're on the brink of discovery here. We need to be bold." "Bold, yes, but not reckless," Beckett replied, feeling the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. "We need to have a plan in place if something goes wrong. Remember, this is still an unknown territory." Reyes interjected, "We've trained for this, Andrew. We have protocols for emergencies. We'll be fine as long as we stick to the plan." "Right," Laura agreed. "We have each other's backs. That's what matters." Beckett nodded, appreciating their confidence, but the feeling of dread lingered like a shadow. He couldn't shake the sense that they were on the precipice of something dangerous. Later that night, Beckett lay in his bunk, staring at the ceiling. The metallic hum of the ship surrounded him, a reminder of their isolation in the depths of space. He tried to sleep, but his mind raced with visions of swirling gas and distant stars. Suddenly, a harsh beeping jolted him awake. He sat up, heart pounding, as the ship's alarm blared through the corridors. He rushed to the control room, where the lights flickered ominously. "Mia, Reyes, Laura!" he shouted, scrambling to assess the situation. "What's going on?" Reyes asked, his face pale as he fought to regain composure. "We've got an anomaly on the sensors," Mia replied, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Something's interfering with our systems. It's as if the nebula is reacting to us." "What do you mean?" Beckett demanded, scanning the console. "It's like we're being pulled in," she said, eyes wide with a mix of fear and fascination. "The gravitational waves are increasing exponentially. We need to stabilize the ship, or we'll be caught in its grasp." "Get the thrusters online," Beckett barked, adrenaline surging through him. "We need to break free before..." Before he could finish, the ship shuddered violently, the lights flickering and the alarms screaming in a cacophony of sound. Beckett felt a suffocating pressure around him, as if the very fabric of reality was being torn apart. "Hold on," he shouted, gripping the console as the ship spun wildly. The Daedalus was caught in a violent maelstrom. The force of the nebula's pull, warping the ship like a tin can. Beckett's heart raced as he fought to maintain control, but the sensors were overloaded, the readings spinning out of control. The stars outside became streaks of light, and the crew screamed in terror as the ship was hurled through the chaos. "Reyes, engage the thrusters!" Beckett yelled, his voice strained against the tumult. "I'm trying," Reyes shouted back, fingers flying over the controls. "They're not responding. We're losing power." The ship jolted again, throwing Beckett against the wall. Pain shot through his shoulder as he struggled to regain his footing. He turned to see Mia frantically tapping at her console, her expression a mixture of fear and determination. "If we can just stabilize the energy levels." "Forget stabilization. We need to break free," Beckett roared, fear and frustration mixing in his chest. Suddenly, the ship was enveloped in a blinding light. For a moment, all sound ceased, and Beckett felt as though time had stopped. The chaos around him faded, replaced by an overwhelming sensation of weightlessness. And then, just as quickly, darkness enveloped him. When Beckett regained consciousness, he found himself sprawled across the control room floor, the air thick with the acrid smell of burnt circuits. His head throbbed, and he struggled to sit up. Panic gripped him as he realized he was alone. "Mia! Daniel! Laura!" he called, his voice hoarse and strained. No answer came, only the eerie silence of the ship. He pushed himself to his feet, heart racing as he staggered to the nearest console. The screens were dark, flickering intermittently, and the ship's systems were in disarray. Come on, he muttered, slamming his fist against the panel. He forced himself to breathe, focusing on the task at hand. He needed to restore power and find his crew. As he worked, flashes of memories flooded his mind. Laughter, shared meals, late-night discussions. They were more than colleagues. They were friends, family in a way that transcended the bonds of duty. And now they were lost. Please, he whispered to himself, willing the systems to come back online. Finally, the screens blinked to life and a wave of relief washed over him. He scanned the data, searching for any signs of his crew. Life support systems, offline, emergency beacon. Inactive, he read, anxiety twisting in his stomach. No! He frantically pressed buttons, trying to establish communication with the others, but static filled the air, drowning out his voice. As the realization settled in, despair gripped him. He had to find them. Beckett stumbled through the ship, navigating the darkened corridors. The once vibrant interior of the Daedalus felt like a tomb, the silence echoing his mounting dread. He reached the crew quarters, heart pounding, as he knocked on the doors, calling their names. Mia, Daniel, Laura. There was no response, only the hollow sound of his voice bouncing off the walls. The weight of fear settled heavily on his chest. He forced himself to check each room, praying he would find them safe. He reached Mia's quarters first, opening the door to reveal a darkened space cluttered with personal belongings. Her holographic star charts flickered on the desk, casting an eerie glow. Beckett felt a pang of guilt as he sifted through her things, hoping for any sign of her presence. "Mia!" he shouted, but the silence answered back. Next, he moved to Reyes's room. The door was slightly ajar, and he pushed it open cautiously. The interior was a mess, a stark contrast to Reyes's usual meticulousness. The navigational maps were scattered across the floor, and the console screen flashed ominously. "Daniel?" Beckett whispered, a lump forming in his throat. He stepped inside, desperation clawing at him as he searched for any sign of life. The overwhelming sense of loss threatened to engulf him, and he shook his head, refusing to give in to despair. Finally, he reached Laura's quarters. The door was locked and he banged on it, desperation spilling from his voice. "Laura, are you in there? Please answer me." The door clicked open and Beckett rushed inside, only to find it empty. The air felt heavy, and he pressed his palms against his temples, fighting against the panic rising within him. He was alone. They were gone. With every passing moment, the ship felt more like a graveyard than a vessel. Beckett forced himself to return to the control room, where he had to think clearly. They had been drawn into the nebula, but why? What had happened? As he settled into the captain's chair, he activated the ship's logs, hoping to piece together the events leading to their current predicament. The screens flickered, displaying data and recordings from the mission. He focused intently, searching for answers. Initializing playback, Captain's log, Day 1. We've entered the Foranth Nebula. The video showed the crew, smiles on their faces, filled with optimism. But as Beckett continued to watch, the mood shifted. The images became chaotic, filled with distorted sounds and visuals. Suddenly, a scream echoed through the recording, a chilling sound that made Beckett's blood run cold. The screen flashed to static before cutting out entirely, plunging the room back into darkness. "What the hell happened?" Beckett muttered, fear coursing through him. Beckett felt a cold chill run down his spine as the static faded, leaving him alone with the haunting echoes of the crew's laughter that had been replaced by screams. The disembodied voices of his friends swirled around him, taunting him, reminding him of his failure to protect them. He stood up abruptly, pacing the cramped confines of the control room, wrestling with the insidious thoughts that threatened to overwhelm him. "Think, Beckett," he chided himself. "You're the captain. You can't fall apart now." He searched for a logical explanation, some sign that could lead him to his crew. As he rummaged through the scattered data logs, a faint sound caught his attention. A whisper, barely audible, creeping through the static. Andrew. His heart raced, and he froze, straining to listen. "Who's there?" he called, his voice trembling. "Andrew, help us!" The voice was soft, almost melodic, yet filled with an urgency that sent shivers down his spine. He felt an overwhelming compulsion to follow it, to uncover the source. It resonated deep within him, pulling him into the darkness of the ship. "Where are you?" he whispered, stepping cautiously towards the source of the sound. The voice guided him through the dimly lit corridors, leading him to the ship's aft, a part of the vessel he rarely visited. As he reached the entrance to the cargo bay, the voice grew louder, echoing off the metal walls. "Help us, Andrew." He hesitated, fear clawing at his gut. What if it was a trick? A manifestation of his guilt and grief? But the desperation in the voice was undeniable. He took a deep breath and pushed the door open, revealing the vast, empty space within. The cargo bay was dimly lit, shadows dancing on the walls as the voice echoed around him. "Help us! We're trapped!" "Where are you?" Beckett shouted, his voice reverberating through the silence. The room remained still, the shadows seeming to close in on him. And then, from the corner of his eye, he caught a flicker of movement. He turned sharply, heart racing, and saw a faint silhouette standing at the far end of the bay. "Mia?" he whispered, hope blossoming in his chest. The figure turned, and for a brief moment he felt a surge of relief. But as he stepped closer, the realization hit him. It was not Mia. The figure was distorted, a dark silhouette with features that twisted in the shadows. "Help us, Andrew," the figure murmured, its voice a haunting echo of his crewmates. "No, this can't be happening," Beckett shouted, backing away, panic coursing through him. He stumbled, falling to the ground, heart racing. "Andrew, we need you." The voice shifted, sounding like Daniel now. "You're the only one who can save us." Beckett shook his head, desperation clawing at him. "No, you're gone. I can't help you." "Help us. We're trapped in the grasp of a memory." The shadows surged forward, engulfing him in darkness, and Beckett felt himself being pulled into a vortex of despair. He gasped, heart pounding, as memories flooded his mind. Laughter, camaraderie, the warmth of friendship, and the chilling sense of loss that followed. Beckett struggled against the onslaught of memories, feeling as though he were drowning in a sea of regret. The voices of his crew echoed in his mind, a cacophony of laughter and anguish. "Help us, Andrew. We're trapped." He closed his eyes tightly, fighting to push the memories away, but they came flooding back, relentless and unyielding. Images of the launch, their dreams, their hopes, everything that had led to this moment came crashing down upon him, like a tidal wave. "Why didn't I protect you?" he cried out, feeling the weight of guilt settle heavily on his shoulders. I'm so sorry." But the shadows only drew closer, whispering his name, suffocating him in their embrace. "You were supposed to save us, Andrew. You failed." Beckett's heart raced, fear gripping him as he fought to break free from the memories. "No, I won't let you do this to me." In a desperate act of will, he forced himself to his feet and sprinted back toward the control room, the darkness hot on his heels. He had to find a way to escape, to break the cycle of despair. As he reached the control room, he slammed the door shut, locking out the shadows. He leaned against the door, panting heavily, heart racing. The faint whispers subsided, leaving only silence. He stumbled back to the console, hands shaking as he input commands, desperately trying to restore power and contact Earth. "Please, just let me get through," he muttered, fingers trembling as he activated the emergency beacon. The screen flickered, displaying a countdown. Emergency beacon activated, sending distress signal. As he waited, dread twisted in his stomach. He knew it might be too late, that the vastness of space could swallow his plea for help. He ran a hand through his hair, battling against the despair that threatened to engulf him once more. "Andrew." The voice echoed through the control room, this time soft and almost tender. "Help us." "Stop!" he shouted, slamming his fist on the console. "I can't help you, you're gone." "Andrew, please." The voice faded into a whisper, lingering in the air like a haunting melody. Suddenly, the screens flickered back to life, displaying a live feed of the nebula outside. Beckett's heart raced as he saw the swirling colours shift, and something deep within him stirred, a memory. As the nebula danced outside the viewport, Beckett felt a connection to it, as if it were reaching out to him. The colours swirled, pulsating with energy, and he was reminded of the day they first entered the nebula, an overwhelming sense of wonder and curiosity. "What are you trying to tell me?" he murmured, pressing his hands against the cool glass. The nebula shimmered, and in that moment, he felt a flicker of understanding. It was not just a cloud of gas and dust. It was a living entity, a memory of the cosmos, holding the echoes of those who had ventured into its depths. "Help us!" The voice of his crew echoed again, but this time it was different, less a plea, and more a call to action. "Find us, Andrew. You must remember." He closed his eyes, focusing on the memories, searching for something he had overlooked. The mission had been about exploration, but there was also a darker side, one they had brushed aside in their excitement. "Life forms, energy fluctuations," he whispered, piecing together fragments of conversations they had had. "We didn't fully understand what we were dealing with." He turned back to the console, heart pounding, as he reviewed the data from their scans. "There must be a way to communicate with it," he muttered, determination flooding his veins. "If I can connect with the nebula, maybe I can reach them." As he sifted through the data, he recalled the energy readings they had logged, the strange pulses that seemed to resonate with their own thoughts and emotions. He could harness that connection, turn it into a bridge between him and his crew. Come on, he urged, inputting commands with fervor. He needed to establish a link, to channel the ship's energy into a signal that could resonate with the nebula's consciousness. The screens flickered, and he could see the energy readings spiking. "Yes, just a little more." As he fine-tuned the controls, he felt a rush of hope, a flicker of possibility. If he could reach the nebula, perhaps it would reveal the location of his crew. "I'm coming for you," he whispered, determination coursing through him. Suddenly, the ship shook violently, throwing him against the console. Alarms blared, and the screens went dark once more. "Not now!" Beckett yelled, scrambling to regain control. "Not now!" The lights flickered, and he felt the pressure building around him, as if the nebula was responding to his actions. "I need to stabilize the ship. Please!" With every ounce of strength, he fought to keep the ship steady, focusing on the energy readings. He felt the nebula's pulse, a rhythm that matched the beating of his own heart. He closed his eyes, letting the connection deepen, allowing himself to be enveloped by the nebula's energy. As Beckett surrendered to the pulsating energy of the nebula, he felt a rush of sensations flooding his mind. Memories twisted and turned, each one a piece of the puzzle he had been trying to solve. "Andrew," the voice called again, now infused with warmth. "Help us." He concentrated on the connection, letting the energy flow through him. Images swirled in his mind, the faces of his crew, laughter shared, dreams exchanged. But then the memories shifted, becoming darker, more chaotic. "Andrew, you have to remember," Mia's voice pleaded, echoing through the chaos. "We're trapped in the rift." Beckett's heart raced as the realization hit him. The nebula was not just a beautiful spectacle. It held a rift, a tear in space-time that had ensnared his crew. The very thing that had drawn them in was also what had separated them. "I see you," he shouted, eyes wide with understanding. "You're in the rift." "Help us, Andrew." The voices grew more urgent, desperation seeping through. "You can save us, but you must remember how we got here." The memories surged, and he felt himself being pulled deeper into the fabric of the nebula. He was no longer just a captain. He was part of the ship, part of the nebula itself. Images flashed, data logs, calculations, moments of laughter, but then dark flashes of chaos, screams, the ship spiraling into the unknown. "No!" he cried out, fighting against the tide of despair. "I won't lose you." He forced himself to focus, searching for the moment they had first encountered the anomaly. The energy fluctuations. They were like a heartbeat, he whispered, connecting the dots. "I can resonate with it. I can open the rift." With newfound resolve, he recalibrated the ship's systems, aligning them with the nebula's rhythm. "We're going to find you," he shouted, feeling the energy surge within him. The ship shook violently as he activated the resonance, a blinding light engulfing the control room. Beckett felt a rush of power as the nebula's energy intertwined with his own, creating a bridge, a link to the rift that held his crew captive. "Hold on!" he yelled, gripping the console as the ship spun around him, the nebula's colors swirling in a dazzling display. Suddenly, the light intensified, and the ship was pulled towards the rift. Beckett's heart raced as he fought to maintain control, the energies colliding around him. "I won't let go. I will bring you back." As the ship surged towards the rift, Beckett felt an overwhelming surge of energy coursing through him. The light enveloped him, blinding him momentarily, and then he was thrust into a realm of swirling colors and chaos. "Andrew," the voice of his crew echoed through the void, resonating with urgency and hope. "Hold on," he shouted, determination flooding his veins. "I'm coming for you." As the chaos swirled around him, he focused on the connections weaving through the energies, searching for the familiar presence of his crew. "Mia, Daniel, Laura," he called, desperation clawing at his throat. The rift shimmered, and in the distance he saw silhouettes forming. His heart soared, hope igniting within him as he pushed forward, fighting against the overwhelming tide of energy. "Andrew," Mia's voice broke through the chaos, filled with relief. "You found us." "I'm here. I'm coming," he shouted, reaching out to them as the darkness threatened to consume him. As he drew closer, he could see their faces, the expressions a mix of fear and relief. They were trapped in a shimmering bubble of energy, unable to break free from the rift. "Grab on," he urged, extending his hand toward them. They reached out, fingers brushing against his, and in that moment, a surge of energy coursed through them, binding them together. "Let's go!" Beckett shouted, pulling them closer as the rift began to close around them. With one final push, they broke free from the rift's grasp. the world around them exploding in a brilliant flash of light. Beckett awoke to find himself back in the control room, sprawled across the floor, breathless. The ship was still, the lights flickering gently as he regained his bearings. "Andrew?" a voice called, breaking through the haze. "Mia?" he murmured, sitting up slowly. The crew appeared before him, their expressions a mixture of confusion and relief. "We thought we lost you," Reyes exclaimed, rushing to his side. Beckett looked at them, tears of relief streaming down his face. "You're alive! I thought I lost you all." Mia smiled softly, her eyes filled with gratitude. "We're here, Andrew. You saved us." "But how?" Laura asked, glancing around the control room, taking in the aftermath of their ordeal. "The nebula. It was alive," Beckett explained, his voice shaky. "It connected with us, with our memories. I had to resonate with it to reach you." They exchanged glances, a mix of disbelief and wonder crossing their faces. "But we're back now," Beckett said, wiping his eyes. "Together." As the crew gathered around him, the weight of their experience began to settle in. They had faced the unknown and emerged stronger, united by their bonds. "Let's get the ship back on track," Beckett said, determination flooding his voice. "We have a mission to complete." With renewed purpose, they worked together, the echoes of their past lingering, but no longer haunting them. They had faced the darkness and emerged into the light, ready to continue their journey among the stars. As the Daedalus emerged from the nebula, the vastness of space stretched out before them, a tapestry of stars twinkling against the inky blackness. Beckett stood at the helm, his heart filled with a mixture of hope and gratitude. "Can you believe we made it?" Mia said, leaning against the console. "Not just made it," Beckett replied, glancing back at his crew. "We came out stronger." Daniel nodded, his expression serious yet hopeful. "We need to process everything that happened. The nebula, it's more than we realized." "Agreed," Beckett said, turning back to the stars. "But first we need to regroup and ensure we're prepared for anything that comes next." As they navigated away from the nebula, the ship's system slowly returned to normal, the darkness of their experience beginning to fade. "Captain, incoming transmission from Earth," Laura said, her voice breaking the silence. "Put it through," Beckett said, feeling a surge of anticipation. The screen flickered to life, displaying a familiar face. Admiral Grant. "Captain Beckett," he said, his tone serious but relieved. "We were beginning to fear the worst. What is your status?" "We're alive, Admiral," Beckett replied, pride swelling in his chest. "We encountered unexpected anomalies within the nebula, but have successfully navigated through." "Good to hear," Grant replied, a smile breaking through. "I'll need a full report on your findings when you return. This could change everything we know about that sector." "Understood, sir," Beckett said, glancing at his crew, their faces filled with determination. "We're ready for whatever comes next." As the transmission ended, Beckett turned to his crew, gratitude swelling in his heart. "We did this together, and we'll continue to face whatever challenges lie ahead." The stars shimmered outside the viewport, a reminder of the vast possibilities awaiting them. Together, they would explore the unknown, forge new paths among the cosmos, and continue to grow stronger as a team. "Let's set a course for home," Beckett said, a sense of peace settling over him. With a renewed sense of purpose, the crew of the Daedalus ventured onward, ready to embrace the adventures that awaited them among the stars.